So I think I came back here because for me to tell a full story and document my life, I would have to say these are the building block years, right? This is where it all started. This is where I, first grade, came to understand like who I am, define myself, learn that I could read, write, and do arithmetic. And, I started to socialize. And, a lot of my first real true friends were my like first grade friends that I would hang out with. We would go to recess, we go to lunch, we have our little reading circles and our little cursive and, writing circles as we grew up. But this is where like I started to develop and formulate my identity.
Can you talk about how the access expanded your mind?
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to say when you don't have the pressures of dealing with the neighborhood weight of growing up in the Afro-Caribbean neighborhood, it's almost like you have these expectations. You're supposed to do this or you're supposed to do that. Here, all I had to do was be a kid, learn, study, free-spirited, try new different things, art, painting, writing, all the things that properly developed me and put me on the road that I am on now was the inception and the genesis. All of it started right here, Oakton Ave, Adams Street, Kidney School. Yeah, born and raised. So I actually born Brigham and Women's, 76, January 5th, 1976. Short time in the Roxbury area, Sharman Ave, and then from Sharman Ave, my mother switched church and she moved up here to Talbot Ave in Aspinwall, and because of the area that we were in, my school district was Kidney School. So I think I came back here because for me to tell a full story and document my life, I would have to say these are the building block years, right? And one of the key things for me in a building block year was trying to figure out who little Hakim was as a first grader. Like, okay, was I going to be... And this has a lot to do with the reality of like growing up one parent household, right? Like, would I be a reckless, angry, arrogant, kid that didn't necessarily respect authority because there was no authority in my house but my mother? And truth be told, I found ways to say, no, I'm not going to be this, unstructured, enigmatic individual who just didn't care for teachers, authority, structure, or anything like that. I really just buckled down and said, hey, if I'm going to become anything, I think it's going to start here, and not dealing with the reality of like, oh, maybe I'm here because, and with my life being the way it was at home, why don't I project the same thing here? And I said to myself, well, my mama kind of keeps us under a good structured, type of authority at home. So I'm like, she wanted us to be, she wanted us to represent the family last name everywhere we went. And I took pride in that. The thing that I realized, first grade, it gave me the building blocks. Second grade, it gave me a little level of freedom because it let me know that in, I think Mr. Brown's class was, okay, you're smart, but you're a different kind of smart. You're not a school book smart. You're a read the room, self-aware smart. You know what I'm saying? Where I was a kind of kid, I read my environment more than the schoolwork. I looked at the board, I saw the teacher, I saw what the lessons were and all that. But I was really just reading my environment. And because of that, I became a different kind of kid because I picked up on things in a different way. Okay, you got some stuff on the board, great. But how does that connect with me and the rest of my classmates, so on and so forth, right? So I think I became more self-aware. I was able to read the room, and I process information differently. I think like left brain, right brain type of thing, I would honestly say the way that I process information made me kind of more like a kid in a jungle environment where I could read the jungle and see the animals before anything, else. So
What part did structure play in your household via lack or actually
I'm
having?
gonna tell you what played structure. Ass whoopings, right? My mama would whip that ass, right? I come from a household where she didn't play that shit. Excuse my French, she'd whip that ass, right? Now me, it wasn't all the time, but I knew if I get out of line, that belt's coming out, that leather belt, that switch, whatever it was she could get her hands on. She was, now, it wasn't, it did two things, right? Because I think it was a little bit more brutal because of the fact that it was a one-parent household, and she also had pent-up emotions and resentment and aggressions and angers because of her having a failed marriage. So I don't know if the beatings, the chastisements, the punishments were more brutal because of the fact I look like my father and because of the fact that I was an end result of a failed marriage. So that might have had some sort of fuel to the ass whippings. But let me just say that like, okay, either I did something really wrong or she's mad at something else. Like, she's definitely mad at something else, and it ain't me. But my black behind is gonna take the brunt of this because of it. So I don't know. That it definitely felt like that as a kid. Like, damn it, this is a little bit different. It's a little bit different type of. I think we know that we need structure, but more so, I think we know that we need structure because we have to deal with the reality of being in a world where there are limitations and there are consequences, right? One of the things I've realized is that when you understand limitations and you understand consequences and you understand that, okay, if I do this thing, this negative result can have this end result, right? If I do that thing, this activity can lead to this, which can lead to another a negative result. And you have to be mindful of that. And I think we pick up on that very early in life, right? Not only because of who we are, but because of the structure of the society. Like, okay, I live in Boston. This is predominantly, Irish, Italian, Jew, Afro-Caribbean city, There are places that we didn't go as kids, and we still don't go to this day because we just have negative emotional reactions to the history of what happened in those areas, right? Like, let's be honest, people call it the seaport. We used to call it Southie, and you don't go over there. One, you don't go over there because it ain't your neighborhood, and two, you don't want to get caught over there, in the wrong place, the wrong time with the wrong people. So it's just one of those things too where people are like, oh, I'm going over to the seaport. We don't have an attachment to the seaport because we were never invited over there as kids or young adults or youth, right? Like, that's, to us from Dorchester, that's the other side of the world, in your own city, Like, I could travel to Florida and back with my family before I would cross over to Southie or Seaport to go hang out. Like, nah, son, that's not what we do.
Does it still feel that way?
To a certain degree. Like, there isn't I guess as an adult, it's different because I can defend myself. As a kid, it was a little different. You're 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. You don't know, big grown man coming after you. That's different. Now, I'll knock someone out. So, it's different when you can defend yourself as a grown man versus, a smart and witty kid, but at the same time, you're still a kid, So it's a little different.